Pianist and composer Adam Tendler is a former Houstonian. He lived here for 3 years beginning in 2006, serving in teaching positions at Houston Grand Opera and HISD's High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, and as director of classical music at Mecca. Known far and wide as a passionate advocate for new music, he was artistic director of the city's Foundation for Modern Music for 2 years, an assignment he accepted after completing the project which first gained him national recognition. 88 by 50 was a self-initiated concert tour in which he presented solo piano recitals in each of the 50 states, mostly in underserved communities where people don't often get the chance to hear classical music performed live by professional artists. Adam left Houston and moved to New York City 3 years ago, but he's back in town for a performance tomorrow evening at the Rothko Chapel. His recital program, Night Thoughts, is made up of solo piano pieces by modern and contemporary Americans, including Charles Ives, Aaron Copland, Ned Rorem, John Adams. All of the pieces are contemplative in nature, and each was created in a spirit of remembrance, homage, or dedication to someone important to the life and work of the composer. Adam Tendler is at the moment seated at the Steinway here in the Geary Performance Studio, and over the next few minutes we're going to get a preview of his recital tomorrow night at the Rothko Chapel. And I should say, Adam, that you were also an announcer here at
yeah, that's one of the
what
best
was then
parts.
KUHF 88.7. So welcome back.
Thank you. I'm thrilled.
You moved away to somewhere up north called New York City. But since you left, how has your artistry developed?
Well, New York is a place where one has to, constantly find their footing. I think every day anyone who lives there in the arts is reassessing, regrouping, and figuring out who they are as an artist. And I had to do that too. When I got there, it's funny, when I was here in Houston, I actually wasn't playing that much piano. I did some concerts, but I was really, I was composing some, and I was actually really just finding out who I was as a person, it felt like. And in New York, I had to kind of
you have to know
fast.
Who you are.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I've been playing a lot more, and I've been teaching a lot more. And so, I took the tools that I learned over the 50-state tour and that I kind of got here in Houston. These tools were really crucial in my identity as an artist in New York, as a pianist. It's been a really interesting couple of years. I've been touring a bunch with different programs. A lot of John Cage. This is the John Cage Centenary, so there's some John Cage on this program. But I've been traveling a lot with his sonatas and interludes, where the first performance that I ever did that was here in Houston. So. I owe a lot to my time in Houston, and New York. It's an amazing place, but it's not the only place. And even when I was here in Houston, I was bringing attention to the fact that Houston had this incredible art scene. And even when I'm up there, I talk about it a lot, about how I was here for 2 years, and it was really one of the most crucial points in my life. But it's been an incredible ride in New York. I'm publishing a book about that tour, the 50-state tour. This winter, and a lot of these things happened because I realized that I had to make them happen. In New York, everyone has to sort of not just get their own piece of the pie, but they kind of have to make their own pie too.
Let's talk about Night Thoughts, your presentation at the Rothko Chapel. The idea behind this recital?
Well, there's a couple things. I started to realize that I was gravitating toward more meditative music. When I did the 50-state tour, and even some of the programs afterwards, I found I was programming a lot of aggressive music and a lot of music that really, it was abstract, but it was also had a really firm bite to it. And I liked that. I mean, it was never meant to shock. And something about this program, I just started to realize that a lot of the pieces I was learning had a more meditative feel to them. And I've been developing this program over the last couple of years. I've used it several times as a benefit program. Mm-hmm. I used it as a benefit in San Francisco, in Vermont, and in New York just recently after Hurricane Sandy, because it just feels like it's a clearing space for reflection. And the pieces on it welcome that, and some of it is just in amazing music. The Ned Rorem set in particular, it's all these pieces that he wrote for his partner while they were together over 32 years. And James Holmes. And so, and you can read about their relationship in all of Rorem's diary, not all of them, but some of Rorem's diaries that he's published. But what's cool about these pieces is he has like these inscriptions that he writes to James Holmes throughout for each piece. And these pieces were really private pieces that he wrote for him. For like birthdays and anniversaries, and they were only published after James Holmes died of AIDS-related illness. And I play them in chronological order, all of the published pieces. There's 16. And usually the inscriptions are printed in the program. Probably tomorrow I'll speak them. And it's just, again, it's just sort of...
Is it a love story?
It is. It's sort of, but it's also very subdued. It's funny because it's one of the most divisive pieces, I think, on the program, because I think it's hard to tell what Rorem's really do. Like, some of the pieces are very loving, and then you hear them and they're very abstract, you know. On some, it's also not intended as a suite. I've created a suite out of it. Rorem has approved of it, but you know, there's no like dramatic arc. It really feels like you're kind of leafing through their photo album. So some people really enjoy it, and it goes by in like a second for them and they love it. And other people have had very interesting reactions to the piece. But the John Cage music is just so beautiful. We see two sides of Copland. We see his Midday Thoughts, which I'll perform here, which is very, very beautiful and so simple. And then Night Thoughts, which we just heard a tiny bit of, which is completely the other end of his spectrum. What he calls it his no-nonsense style. You know, we get a lot of that. And so the program is intended as a kind of journey, maybe from day to night. I don't know. People can make their own decisions. And there's some new stuff in there. A friend of mine from San Francisco, a prepared piano piece that I'm doing of his.
You're going to play Copland's Midday Thoughts for us right now. This is a piece that was found among a box of pieces that he'd written and not done anything with.
Exactly. It's funny because it has this has this date of composition of 1982, and it's probably not 1982. It's really
mid 1940s.
Yeah, they're saying it's probably from a sketch that he did for an unrealized ballade for piano and orchestra, and but you know, it holds its own, and then he did publish it. I mean, it's a piece with integrity. And I'll go right from that into this piece by John Cage called Dream. This is the first time I've paired them, but I just thought the other day that it would really go nicely together.
Talk about Dream.
Well, Dream, it's from 1948, and a lot of people think of Cage as, you know, a chance composer, or as, you know, or as the prepared piano composer, or even as like the silent composer. You know, all these sides of John Cage that can seem really off-putting to some people, and some people it's very intriguing. He went through a period really during the prepared piano period where he really wanted quiet music, and he was saying, you know, there's so much pain, there's so much suffering and war. I don't want to add to that, and I want to create quiet sounds. That's what interests me. He has some amazing quotes like that. And so there's a group of pieces from this period for even non-prepared piano, like Dream, where you just see him kind of like playing with sounds, and he just lets them kind of flow. And it's amazing that it's from 1948 because it sounds like kind of borderline new age music.
And he actually wrote this on a request from Merce Cunningham for a dance.
Which is also really fascinating because we can hear some of his music that for Merce, which seems like it would really lend itself to the dance. But this really shows that they had such an interesting collaboration because it was focused on each doing his own thing. And so this is, as we hear it, we'll think this is not like a dance piece. One can only imagine what it looked like. But, you know, that was their partnership. They were really uncompromising for their own art, and then they'd put it together and watch what happens. I think that's really fascinating that this is a dance dedication. And I'm doing another piece on the program called In a Landscape, which is also very similar. Just so beautiful.
By
John Cage.
By Cage.
It's so interesting because people look at the Cage pieces as like, oh, here comes the John Cage, you know, like brace yourself.
Right.
And really, they're the most inviting pieces, I think, on the program. They're just like, it's like a bubble bath of beautiful music. And I'm doing 433, the silent piece, and I'm putting that after the Rorem set, really because I think that piece can serve as a lot of functions. And tomorrow, you know, I'm a pianist in the Rothko Chapel. Really, to me, the chapel is still the focus. And I kind of want that to be that way. And if anything, 433, especially after a piece that's kind of a memorial, an accidental memorial, because Rorem didn't write these pieces as memorial pieces.
Right.
But this accidental memorial, we can all just take a minute, especially at this time of year, just to stop. Maybe look at the art and just chill out for 4.5 minutes.
Well, let's hear this Midday Thoughts by Aaron Copland, followed by John Cage's Dream. Adam Tendler is at the Steinway here in the Geary Performance Studio. This is the front row. Well, that's gorgeous. That really is. And you wouldn't think it was John Cage.
Yeah, it's surprising. It's an amazing piece.
John Cage's Dream. Before that, we heard Aaron Copland's Midday Thoughts. Adam Tendler here at the Steinway in the Geary Performance Studio. Adam plays contemplative solo keyboard pieces by modern contemporary American composers on his recital Night Thoughts tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock at the Rothko Chapel. Seating is limited, so reservations are recommended. You can call 713-524-9839 or go to the Rothko Chapel website and you'll find a link to that at thefrontrow.org. It's great to have you back in town. It's great to have you back here at Classical 91.7 Houston Public Radio. Please come back more often.
I will. I can't wait. I mean, this has been such a thrill. Thank you so much.
And thank you also to our audio producer, Todd Halslander. This is The Front Row.